We shall see. Ba-do-ba-do. There we go. Sometimes Twitch is very responsive, and sometimes it is not. Alright. Sure, it's actually pointed at me this time. Hello and welcome, dear patrons, to the Tables of Tartarus, a chapter of Purgatory Corner. Today, our storyteller is Benny from Autis DM on TikTok, and today we shall be continuing the tale of adventures into the end times. Come on in, take a seat, and let your imagination run free. Benny, if you'd like to take over.
Okay, thank you for having me on, and thank you all for joining us. On our last adventure, the party finally got to observe the great confrontation between the Dariag supremacy and the Empire of Infernus, which is something that they had been leading up to for quite some time. And as it turns out, there was no confrontation between those two powers because the mercenaries that the respective powers had hired turned on them and wiped out their armies in a nighttime raid, which only some of the party participated in.
How about that?
Also, 3 of the 4 members of the party did get matching tattoos that have abyssal origin, and the remaining member of the party who didn't get them was also very supportive and happy about this decision on their part.
Happy as can be. So happy, like as happy as she was when Rob died.
So now the party has ventured. They're on their way back. Oops, sorry. Now the party is on their way to the city of Goblin Watch, but they have made a detour to Elfhaven to warn the people of Elfhaven that, hey, this mercenary army is about to wreck everything in its path, because that's what they've been doing the whole time. So you all spent the night in Elfhaven, and you had already delivered your warning, and you woke up to a very chaotic scene in the streets where people are trying to get to the docks as quickly as they can to evacuate because they now know what's coming. It's a situation where not only are individual citizens sort of fighting to get out, but there seem to be conflicting orders coming from above and arguments between people who look like officials and so on and so forth. Before we get into it, though, we'll do a quick round of introductions. Let's start with Jane. Give us your character's name, your race, your class. Yeah.
So I'm playing lovely Jane, who's a flat 3 foot tall, angsty redhead gnome ranger. She's absolutely lovely, and is not afraid to speak her opinion despite her height, and she will try, no matter her competitor's side, to beat you in a drinking competition.
All right. And Athel, could you tell us about your character, please?
Athel is a goblin druid and first level monk who is seeking to try and heal as many people as possible, even if that healing has to be dealt through acid-drenched claws at any given time.
All right. And tell us about Gramish, please.
So Gramish is a 6'6", I believe, orc barbarian of the giant. When he gets angry, he turns into a 13-foot tall, very angry boy. And he is not very smart, but he is extremely passionate about that which he cares about, which is primarily trying to do the right thing, whatever that may mean at the time, and however he was told by other people what the right thing means.
All right. And that brings us to Renegar.
Renegar is a Gnoll Lind, Path of the Beast barbarian. Honestly, extremely satisfied with the previous night's vengeance. I have no regrets. No regrets at all. Okay, maybe one, but
What's
That
your
regret
one
being that you didn't break the bow.
that I had to threaten you in the first place.
Well, so regret.
That I had to threaten her in the first place.
Ah.
All right. So you're all kind of walking out into this chaotic scene on the streets of this city, and it's a little bit of a jarring sight because it would be in any case, but especially so here because you picture the elves as being this sort of aloof, beautiful people, and at the moment they are not that. They are in full-on panic. There's brawls breaking out. There's arguments all over the place. So what do you do?
Grommash would probably be trying to see if he can start corralling people. He knows that from his time as kind of security that the more people who are running around, the more likely is somebody's going to get stomped to death. And if somebody gets stomped to death, typically it's a loss of property in his experience. So his probably natural instinct is mitigate death. And so he's going to be trying to figure out if he can corral people.
So what's your method of doing this going to be? Is it going to be by force? Is it just going to be by sort of telling people to calm down and move along?
He's pretty much focused on intimidation, so that's probably what he's going to try to do. He's going to kind of use thaumaturgy, shout out, slow down, or formation, or something of that sort. Just kind of like booming his voice out, seeing if he can spread out to people, kind of get them to stop for at least a moment, and focus on him.
All right, so go ahead and make an intimidation roll, and because thaumaturgy is part of this, I'm going to go ahead and say make it with advantage.
Will do. That would be a dirty 24.
All right, so the people very nearest you stop what they're doing. They sort of stop mid-argument, largely because they just can't. They can't hear each other over you at this point. A little bit further away from you, it seems like it might actually make the situation somewhat worse because people don't necessarily know what they heard, just this loud, random booming.
Mm-hmm.
But the area closest to you does calm down somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Would anybody else like to be doing anything in this moment?
Jane would be on Gromish's shoulder and casting minor illusion, just trying to like kind of like have big letters saying it's like slow down, as she's also trying to shout and try to like point people to a direction. It's like slow down, be careful.
All right, so he's stopping the crowd and you're trying to direct them. Once the attention is on the two of you, a number of people do seem to go along with it, or at the very least stop what they were doing. Are Renegar or Athel doing anything in this moment?
Athel is going to be trying to like protect people from and like tend to people who are getting injured in the brawls and stuff.
Okay. For the most part, Athel, everybody is ignoring you because everybody's 2 feet taller than you are. All right. So as people are making their way toward the docks, an elf official is going to approach the four of you, and he's going to inquire about what your next plans are.
Grommash would probably move Jane forwards. If she's there.
Yeah, I'd be turning my head towards her too, because I'm definitely not the voice of the party.
You there, Jane?
Sorry, are we trying to decide whether or not to get on the ship?
No, the
You're being
visual
asked what your
talks.
next plans are.
Mm-hmm. believe
Unless
those.
they really need us
Mhm.
on the ships. I don't recall if they needed us to guide them or at least protect them while on the ships. But we should make sure everyone is safely on the ships and then move forward or tag along on the ships.
All right. Well, we have a ship that will be joining the fleet shortly. Fleet's a generous term for it. Anything that floats is being used to evacuate people right now. The great power, the Daryag supremacy, needs to be warned about what happened to their army. And their capital, the Forge, is only about a day's sail from here. If you could sail with a captain of a merchant ship that's going to warn them and provide protection, we would appreciate it, and you could save a lot of lives. Now, if you would prefer to make all haste to the south with the rest of the refugees, I certainly understand. This isn't something we would force you to do.
Do your boats need protect?
Well, hopefully, since they'll be traveling in a significant group together, and our main army was with the Supremacy's army, but we do have capable sailors and fighters who will be sailing on them, so hopefully there'll be some safety in numbers.
Okay, so we either go to Goblin Watch where we were told to go, or we go to the other place to give warning, which would take a day.
Exactly, and to be clear, once you had done that, the captain will have orders to make all haste toward Goblin Watch. So you wind up there either way. It's just a question of whether you're up for this detour.
Grom should probably look at Jane and just go, protection.
Yes, protection's important. I just don't know if Goblin Watch could wait one more day. They should be okay.
I'm also going to point
I
out
mean-
that us going to the Forge is us going to a place that we know for a fact is going to get attacked by the mercenaries. Like, we will be in imminent danger. If we go to Goblin Watch, we got like a day or two, we got some time. I'd rather not get immediately thrown back into combat.
I mean, that's if they've
Why do
gotten to the place yet before we get there. Because we can send warning to them and then try to get them all to leave before they get attacked.
Also, the functionary is going to say, while your concerns are certainly warranted, Master Goblin, Elfhaven is between that mercenary army and the Forge, so whatever they're going to do it here before they go to the Forge. In other words, you probably have a few days.
Plus, they were partying pretty hard, so pretty sure we have a good while.
Protect boat.
Yes. I'm going to be right back, you guys. And I'll come back with a plan. And Jane is going to pop around somewhere private and talk to her sending stone.
Okay, so what's the message you're sending into the sending stone?
She is going to send. We have warned Elfhaven, everyone's escaping. We were asked to warn this other place, I keep forgetting. We were asked to detour to warn them as well. Then they would hastily bring us to Goblin Watch. Unless you guys need us there now, it would only take a day travel.
So it'll take a few minutes before you get a reply, and when you do, the reply is going to say, yeah, we're already getting flooded with refugees. We have been for a while, so not that 4 more mouths to feed will make that much difference, but if you can be here a little bit closer to the time when we need you, you're more likely to be more fed and more comfortable. Also, if you can warn the Forge, you can tell them if they want to evacuate to here, this can be where we make our stand. So, yeah, if you're okay with making the trip to the Forge, that works for us.
Yep, we'll be fine. We have our own rations and everything. So, okay, that'll be the plan then. We'll see you in about a day or two.
All right.
And then Jane goes back to the group. It's like, okay, our plan is to go to the Forge and warn everyone and bring them also to Goblin Watch.
All right. So this official is going to thank you profusely. And he's going to, it's the kind of thing where he's almost checking his pockets to see if he has anything to give you. And he's just going to say, I'm sorry, between having just sent out our main army and dealing with the evacuation, I don't have anything for you. Just, we will be in your debt for everything you've done and what you've agreed to do. Allow me to introduce you to the captain and the ship that will be taking you. And as you make your way down to the docks, you see a familiar boat, except that now it has a ballista mounted on the front of it, and the sides have been braced so they're higher and it's harder to board. And the elf Corbrialis is standing at his ship with his owl on his shoulder. The crew you saw of this ship before were tieflings and humans, and they were there as essentially waiters and bartenders and pleasure servants, basically. Who's on the ship now look a lot rougher, and they're all armed. And Corbrialis is going to wave to you, and he's just going to say, "You four turn up in the worst places, don't you?"
Hi,
Well,
buddy.
you know.
We protect.
So you'll be my security on this little jaunt to the Forge.
Yep. That's the plan.
Indeed.
No
right,
more
well-
monsters on the ocean.
No offense to you, Master Gromish, but the rest of you, I don't know how well traveled you are, but I would like to warn you, we're going to a kingdom that is predominantly dwarves and orcs. They're not known for their civility, their kindness, their manners. So if you're used to the niceties of elven civilization or gnomish civilization, I'm going to nod to Jane, then it can be a bit of a shock. And his gaze is going to come to rest on Renegar, and then he's going to sort of think twice about what he's been saying. He's going to say, "You know what? I'm sure you'll be fine. It'll be fine."
Orc
Renegar,
buddies will fight.
Renegar, you've been in civilization long enough now that you will probably register that for the unintentional insult that it was. Whether you want to respond to it is up to you.
No, I just take it in stride with a big old grin. Just
All right. So he's pretty much ready to cast off right away, but before you all leave this place and the continuing pandemonium of the docks, is there anything you all want to do?
Gromish would probably just be heading to the boat.
Okay. All right. So you all set out. Okay. You all set out, and it's a clear day because it always is because of the drought. And as you're setting out, as is his way, Corbrialis will begin to talk more than anybody really asked for about where you're going. The Forge is the trade hub for the Dariag supremacy, so it's on an island off the coast of their main part of their empire. All sorts of ores are mined from the mountains on the mainland, and then it's brought to the Forge. So there's stuff that they make en masse, but you can also have things custom made there, which makes it the largest trade hub in the world as you know it. And while while the Empire of Infernus would certainly contest the claim, a lot of people consider the Forge to be the greatest city in the Empire, or I'm sorry, the greatest city in the world as you know it, because all these different kinds of people come here to trade, and there's just vast amounts of wealth that result from all of this. So, as promised, you sail out. Your boat is not bothered or challenged in any way for some time, although after a few hours, I think Jane has the highest passive perception of the group. You are going to notice a ship coming up to starboard, and the overall design of the ship looks like one of the mercenaries. So what do you do?
Jane's gonna call out to Corbrialis and it's like, we have company.
All right. So Corbrialis is going to wave, and he's going to shout some instructions to the crew who are manning his boat. And the ship is going to turn toward the ship that's approaching instead of trying to get away from it. And one of his crew is going to man the... Well, actually, would anybody in the group like to man the ballista that's at the front of this ship?
Yes.
All right. So Athel Corbialis is shouting a bunch of instructions to you about how to operate this thing, which I'm guessing you're ignoring.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh boy.
Yay! Yay! I really hope that mark doesn't kick in while you're shooting things.
Oh no.
All right. So Corbialis is going to shout to you, not yet. We're not in range. Are you going to shoot anyway, or are you going to wait? I think your mic might be off, Athel.
Sorry, I seem to have misunderstood. Could you restate what you just said?
So you're on the ballista. It is loaded. Corbialis has shouted, we're not in range yet. So the question then is, are you paying attention to that, or are you just firing anyway?
I'm gonna fire anyway.
Oh my god.
Go ahead and roll with disadvantage.
19 and 17.
Okay.
17.
Oh no.
All right. So despite the fact, basically what happens is that because you're too short to actually man this thing, because it's meant for someone human size, you've got it angled up at almost like a 45-degree angle. So instead of firing straight like it's meant to, it fires in an arc, and on the downward part of the arc, it just skewers one of the crew of the approaching ship. So the good news is you've now satisfied the condition of the Curse of Rage. You have
Hey!
deleted a sentient being from the census. And when this happens, the approaching ship is going to turn hard to port, and they're clearly making all haste to be as far from your ship as possible.
Oh,
Well, I mean, that makes you out of combat, I guess, Ethel. Good God.
Athel's dice. This is my moment.
Yeah, it's payment for that time, but I kept rolling nat 2s and 1s.
Gravish is just kind of staring at the boat as it just away from him. He's just like, "Aw, buddies are leaving. They okay?"
I think our goblin scared them.
Corbrialis is just staring at Athel with just unmitigated rage, but he's not actually saying anything. And after a moment, in the calmest voice you've ever heard from any speaking creature, he's just going to say, "So if someone else could man the ballista the next time, that would be lovely."
Gravish will be like, "I like to fight with my axe. I don't know big yeet machine."
Could give it a try. It's like a mechanical bow, right?
Big bow.
Oh.
So
Mhm.
Corborealis is going to, under his breath, those of you with higher passive perception are going to hear him muttering, "The gods hate me," but he will go back to ordering his crew to right their course to go to the forge. It takes most of the day to get there, so it's going to be about twilight when you do get there. And when you get there, the entrance to the bay is actually fairly narrow, and this is probably artificial and intentional as a security measure. But what you're going to notice is that it's choked with wreckage. So Corborealis is going to see this and point it out to the group, and he's going to say, "There is a cove a few miles up. We can go there if you want, and then we can go over, or you can go overland to the city." I can't navigate through all that wreckage. I'm not sure what happened here.
Grommish, using his mighty intelligence, is going to go, "Do we have small boat? I can pull small boat."
I don't have any smaller landing craft, and there's no. So the setup here is it's like a rocky. The shore is very steep and rocky, so there's not really a safe place. Even if you had a rowboat, there wouldn't be a safe place to land it.
Oh.
So
Wait.
something you're able to determine, all of you, or it's pretty clear to see, is that the landscape here was very intentionally altered so that it's very steep as you approach this bay, and then the entrance to the bay has been artificially, probably magically narrowed, so only a few ships at a time can pass through. But at this point, what you can see of the bay is that, like, there's just wreckage everywhere, like floating debris.
Okay, so this is just like floating flotsam, or are we talking like whole ships are like in pieces hanging around this place?
It appears to be wrecked ships.
Not very friendly fellows.
Do they look like the mercenary ships?
There's not enough left of most of them for you to really tell.
Okay, so this is like harbor defense, and that's why he's trying to go away to the cove.
Right. Well, he physically can't sail into the bay because the way
Oh.
is blocked.
Got it.
If you get us close, we can go. Up, down. You know boat better
If that's
than
the
I.
fastest way to the city, that's what I would prefer.
All right. So he takes you around, and as he's taking you around, what becomes very clear very quickly is that the place he's taking you is not easy to get into, even for a seasoned sailor, and it's not in any way marked. So it's the kind of thing where you can land here, but it's not clear if you should or if you're supposed to. When
Gramish's favorite places.
Yep. But he finally does land, and he looks around. When he does land, he looks around. He actually gets off the boat before you do, and looks around like he's expecting to find something, but there's just nothing here. It's just empty, sort of hill country. And you see him muttering to himself about something, and he's going to say, "Well, should probably rest now and set out when it gets light."
Good plan.
Indeed.
So the morning comes, and he guides you to the crest of the nearest hill, and it's a pretty straight shot to get to the city. From what you can see, the walls are intact, and there are, within the city, there's a white pyramid toward the middle of the city, and it's kind of a foggy day, so it's hard to see much detail of anything beyond that. And then you can still make out the bay, where it's still essentially full of junk.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing anything before you set out?
I don't think Grommish would have anything to do.
Okay.
Same here.
Shane's focused on getting everyone out of there and then back to Goblin Watch as fast as possible.
All right. So Coriolis is going to tell you he's going to keep the ship ready to go, and barring something terrible and terribly unexpected happening, he will wait for you right where he is. It takes you a few hours to hike overland to get to the town, and the town is entirely encased inside its walls. There's not really any suburbs around it.
Jeez.
As you get to the harbor, what you find is that the waters are full of destroyed ships, but there's no signs of any damage to the city walls, and the city gates are open. And there's no one around.
Are there any like tracks or evidence that people have left recently, like coming out of the city?
You can go ahead and make a, what would that be? I guess you could make a perception check.
Can I assist him? Give him an advantage on that.
You
Sure.
actually don't need to. I rolled an 18, which with my wisdom is like 20 something.
Okay.
He attempts
All right.
to, and you're just like, I see it.
Okay, so yeah, on that you are able to determine that yes, people have left recently, and I'll say that from the nature of the tracks you find, it looks like they went to the far end of the bay. So I'm trying to think how I want to exactly word this. The best you can surmise is they had some way to get out of here other than sailing through all of this wreckage, and they did that. And among the tracks you find, they all seem to be adults. There doesn't seem to be any children or anybody who was walking with a limp, like no one who's very elderly. Also, there's a faint smell of cooking fat in the air, just kind of hovering in the air.
I will relay
That's
this
odd.
to the party.
Well, that's odd.
Looking
Cooking
around
meat.
at these ships, does it look like it's these ships belong to the Forge and that they did that themselves?
So I don't know. Go ahead and make a history check.
16.
All right, so Renegar is strangely knowledgeable about shipbuilding, apparently, and as such, he's able to determine that these ships, on closer inspection, it was harder to see from when you were on the open ocean, but on closer inspection, a lot of these look like merchant ships and passenger galleys. Most of them don't look military, and it looks like they were destroyed in some kind of attack. They were destroyed by fire or being rammed.
Ocean ramming. Concerning.
And you said the doors are wide open to the city?
The gates are open, and since you both rolled so high, I'll just go ahead and give it to you. They don't look like they've been forced. They are just open.
I'm
just
gonna the whole thing just like the whole thing feels wrong. I'm gonna sneak up to the to the gates. I guess ahead of everybody else.
Okay.
To see what I can see.
All right. So go ahead and make a perception check.
Here we go. That's cocked. It's unfortunate too. There we go. That is a 12.
All right. On a 12, inside the city, you see no one. The streets are empty. There are some signs of distress here, like an overturned apple cart here and a dropped basket there. but it doesn't really look like the scene of a battle.
So, based on like my own background and history at this point, I would be able to recognize the smell of even if it had been like hidden away somewhere, the smell of like I guess death and ruin at this point. Am I getting any of that from where I am from the city here?
You're getting the smell of cooking fat, or of like like a almost like a smell of bacon that's gone a little bit off.
Is that smell getting stronger the closer I'm getting to these gates?
It's definitely coming from within the city.
I'm going to try to follow that scent, and just in case, I'm going to try and do that stealthily.
Okay. All right, so you proceed cautiously into the city, and the smell is not hard to follow. It's quite potent. And as far as you can tell, there's no one around to perceive you. The streets are truly empty here. You don't even see any animals around. What's the rest of the party doing as Grommash is making their way? As Renegar is making his way into the city.
Grommash should probably be looking at the others to see whether or not he should go onwards since Rangar went forwards, obviously sneaking. And Grommash is not very quiet.
Ethel is
Jane
going.
would be. Sorry, continue.
Ethel is going to wild shape into a wolf and travel at the flanks of the party.
Jane is going to follow stealthily with Grommash and Renegar.
Okay. So in that case, Grommash is probably going to attempt to move quietly forwards after placing Jane down in front of him so she can stealth a little bit easier on him. He's still follow her, probably about 10 feet behind her or so, giving her a little bit of breath, so his loudness, if noticed, does not make them notice her if there's anything in front as we go into the town.
All right, everybody make a stealth check, please.
Will do. Stealth. Yeah, that's what I figured. That's a 6.
I got a dirty 22.
Okay.
Sorry, does anyone know if proficiency carries into wild shape? I don't have it on.
I'm going to say yes. Just make the roll and make the call.
That is a 17.
Okay.
And you needed me to roll the stealth too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ooh. Good thing for that cloak. 22.
Okay. Yeah, so everybody moves extremely quietly except for Grommash, who's creeping along walls. But as he's creeping along the walls, I don't know if you all have seen The Emperor's New Groove, but he's doing that thing where he's singing Mission Impossible music as he's sneaking along.
Mm-hmm.
But if anybody notices, they don't let on. And as far as any of you can tell, there is nobody to notice. A couple of things are going to happen as you get further into the town, though. You are going to notice there are some more signs of distress here in terms of like some blood splatters and things like that, some ripped clothing that's on the ground. It still doesn't look like the scene of a battle, though. There's no obvious mass confrontation that happened. Additionally, the ground is going to get a little bit slick, not wet as in water, but more oily. And the white pyramid that is close to the center of town doesn't really match any of the other architecture of this place.
So using my keen wolf senses, can I sniff the oily stuff mixed into the mud and try and figure out what this is?
It's fat. It's like it was fat that was rendered from an animal.
It's a lot of fat.
Okay then. That's concerning.
Can I roll perception? Maybe we catch an idea what's going on.
Go for it.
That's a 12.
On a 12, you're going to, as you're looking around, you're going to notice that that pyramid isn't as even as it seemed to be, and it's not as geometric as you would expect in a city that was built at least partially by dwarves.
Jane's going to say, well, you'd think for such master crafters, they can at least get their shapes equal on all sides, right?
When I look at the pyramid, how close are we to it?
Probably a quarter of a mile away at this point. So you're getting closer.
As we get closer, does this pyramid look fleshy?
No, it doesn't look fleshy. As you're staring at the pyramid, though, you do realize what it's made out of. And in the same moment, you realize what happened to the people of this city. And you realize where the fat that you're walking in came from.
Yeah.
Basically, the pyramid is the bones of the people and animals that lived here.
Ooh.
Well
Ooh.
then, Athel, being overtaken by wolf instincts,
I
is
feel
going
so
to grab
sick.
the nearest femur and start gnawing on it.
Oh my gosh. Child.
I don't know if Grommish would actually recognize. Hold on, let me I'll roll his intelligence real quick. See if he actually comprehends that. That'd be an 8, so I'll say he kind of gets it but doesn't really. So he's gonna kind of look at it. He's just say, Jane. So do we still warn them? Hmm.
I'm just gonna turn around, put a hand on his chest, and pat him in the middle of the chest as I walk by. Too late.
Oh.
And just walk out.
So a few things are going to happen here. One, Athel, as you were thoughtfully gnawing on a femur, something you're going to realize, just being the most magical of the party, is that there was something magical that, I mean, something deeply profane, but something magical was involved here. This wasn't, this was more than just a massacre.
Yeah, that's always a good sign, you know. I always want to hear more than just a simple massacre.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question is, in that knowledge, do you want to do anything with that information?
Yeah, I'm going to wild shape back into my normal form, still kind of gnawing on the femur from time to time. I'm just going to be like, yeah, there was some, like, serious arcana going on here. I don't know exactly what type, but I'm going to guess evil. Just wild out there speculation, but it was probably evil. The femur tastes really good.
I have not had people bone. Is it good?
Buddy, no.
Oh. I can't
Buddy?
have femur.
Yeah, no, you can't have femur. Just
Okay.
because our goblin's munching on it does not mean you should probably munch on it. It could be cursed or something.
Oh. He's gonna look at the pyramid. That cursed too?
Considering it would take a lot of times to turn bones into a pyramid, yes. It likely is cursed.
Do we break pyramid?
I don't know how to answer this.
I might just look at Gromish in stunned absolute silence. Just like the fuck.
You know
Might I
what?
recommend that I take to disassembling the pyramid as the specialist of Arcana in the group?
Oh no. Yes, one bone at a time?
No. I will use some very safe magic to disassemble it, I assure you.
I didn't know your teeth were magic.
I could
Oh, no,
throw
this-
axe.
You could, but I don't want your cursed axe to meet the potentially cursed bones, to be honest, buddy.
Oh. It's cursed? He like pulls out his axe and looks at it. He's a good boy. It looks at me. Okay. He's don't put away his axe. So
The dragon is like, shit, I've been busted. Look on his face.
ah fuck. What magic man? What do?
My suggestion is that we move to a safe distance away,
Okay.
and then I lightning strike it.
Back to boat.
Yes, very quickly back to boat.
Alright, buddy. You still pick up Jane. Back to boat.
So as you all are talking, from one of the side streets, a dog is going to run out, and it's going to just kind of anxiously run around the party. It's clearly looking for something, and it's not finding what it's looking for. And it's also
Oh no.
clearly very shaken.
His other fur buddy. Grab's just like gonna kneel
Jane?
down and try petting it.
Jane's gonna do speak with animals.
Okay, so what are you going to say to the dog?
She's going to say, what's wrong and who are you looking for?
All right, so this is a dog. You're not going to get full, elaborate, detailed conversation from it, but the dog will be able to tell you, can't find my people. I'm looking for my people. I only found one other people. And when Gramish tries to pet the dog is going to back away.
Oh,
Pretty,
Fur buddy.
pretty scared and startled.
It's okay for a buddy too.
I'm sorry, but your people might be in that pyramid. They might not be here anymore.
So the dog is going to look at the pyramid and look at you, and it's kind of thing where you can really see the wheels turning behind this dog's eyes as it's trying to figure out what it is you're saying. It's not clear if it's an intellectual limitation for this animal or if it's more of an emotional block, but it's not quite clicking. And the dog is going to go, I'm going to go back to other people, she explained. And it's going to take off back down the side street that it came from.
Fur buddy too.
Jane.
Wait up. Gramish just don't follow it.
Yeah, about to say, he's like, Jane wants to follow.
Fur
like,
buddy
wait,
two,
hold
it's
on.
okay.
All right.
Fur buddy 1, Fur buddy 2 went this way.
Well, when I hear that, I turn around and I start following the group, wondering what the fuck we're doing.
Arthur will
Look.
also follow for the fun of it.
Fur buddy 2, hold on.
So the dog makes its way down the street, and what you're seeing as you're walking down these streets, and it's the kind of thing where it's more obvious now that you know what you're looking for, is this is a situation where whatever happened here, there was no organized defense against it, which is why the signs of distress are so scattered and incoherent. So there is like a door that was kicked in here and there, and there's things that were rifled or whatever, but because there was no organized battle, it's all very incidental, and some places look completely peaceful, even though the people are very clearly gone. Where the dog goes, though, is to nondescript storefront that has a light on in the window. And as the dog approaches the door, it's going to scratch the door as dogs do, and it will. Someone on the inside opens the door and lets the dog in, and then closes the door again.
Furbuddy 2 found house. Grom's gonna walk up and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Furbuddy 2.
Is anyone inside?
All right, so the door will open, and an old woman who looks like she's part elf and part something else is going to open the door, and what is beyond the door is a little shop. The shop seems like it's bigger than it should be relative to what's outside, and she's going to say, welcome, come in. Wasn't expecting customers today.
We followed
Yeah, I wonder
Furbuddy
why.
2. Yep, Grom's
So
just
she's
gonna follow.
inviting all of you. She's inviting all of you in, and the place on the inside is warm, and the shelves are cluttered with a variety of objects that don't necessarily seem to have any particular theme to the shop. It's just kind of odds and ends. And she'll offer everybody a cup of tea.
Gromish will hold it. So small. Where's Furbuddy 2?
So she's going to call the dog over, and the dog will come to her. And I think speak with animals lasts for a while. So Jane, you're going to hear this dog continuing to talk in scattered sentences to this old woman. You have no idea if she understands or not, or if the dog is just trying to communicate. And the dog is going to be saying, couldn't find my people, found some other people, but still not any other people, empty city. And whether she's registering this or not, she's just kind of absently patting this dog on the head.
Jane's gonna look at the dog and to the lady and it's like, do you understand what's going on outside?
I understand what happened outside a couple of days ago, if that's what you're asking, young lady.
And you're choosing to stay?
No, I'm making preparations to go. There wasn't really any particular hurry to leave at this point. It's not like I have to worry about making this month's rent.
What exactly happened?
Well, from what I can tell, or from what I saw and what I recall, a fleet of mercenaries showed up, and because the Supremator had called for mercenaries, they were allowed into the city. I suppose we should have recognized the timing was bad because the Supremator and the army had already left. But we opened the gates for them because we thought they were allies. We thought they were going to maybe stay a day or reprovision and go on to join in the battle. And when they attacked, most of the city was defenseless. And it went on for hours. They conducted some sort of ritual and built that pyramid outside. And as far as I can tell, there's no one else left. The dog, I was hiding, of course. I wasn't trying to take on the entire mercenary army by myself. And I'm not exactly proud of this, but I wasn't going to try to save a lot of people because I was afraid of the noise and anything else might give it away and give away the hiding place. But the dog happened to run up to the door just as I was making my provisions, and of course, who can say no to this adorable little fellow? And she's going to continue to pat the dog. And the dog is going to look at Jane and say, adorable, adorable.
Can I try to sneakily cast Detect Magic, perhaps standing behind Gromish or Renegar, while
Sure.
casting Detect Magic in here?
Okay.
Alright, so I'm going to do that, and Give me specifics. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so I detect the presence of magic within 30 feet of me. And I can see a faint aura around any visible or creature or object that bears magic. And I learned it's school of magic, if any.
Okay, so the dog is not magical. Pretty much everything else in this place absolutely is magical, and it's not all of the same school of magic.
Hmm.
So basically, at first blush, this place just appears to be a junk shop, and you realize essentially everything in here is magical. And the old woman is going to say, I believe your goblin friend can confirm when I tell you that everything in my shop is magical. I'm making my preparations to leave, but if there's anything you see that you would like, I can certainly offer it to you at a discount today because, well, it just means I don't have to take it with me when I go.
So, just based on previous experience about somebody being so safe in such a bad situation, I'd like to insight check. I'd like to insight check her, and then I don't know exactly what type of check this is going to be. So like 2 checks I want to make. First, I want to insight check like basically what she's talking. Is she telling us the truth? And then I'd like to use the Eldritch Hunter ability that I have, where I can track or ID an aberration, celestial fiend, monstrosity, or undead. And basically, I'm just adding my proficiency bonus to that roll.
Okay, so you're trying to do your insight roll, and then you're trying to figure out what this person is.
Well, like kind of at the same. I guess I'm trying to do both at the same time. Like I'm trying to I guess do the sniff check on this person.
Okay, so go ahead and roll your die and add your appropriate bonuses.
Are we doing? Is this just all one insight check?
Just start with one roll, and we'll figure it out from there.
So the insight is 22.
All right, so on a 22, you're able to get a lot of information. One of them is that this person is definitely not of this plane, and what you gather is that this person probably hails from some other plane of existence, probably something toward the far realm, but more like, if you had to guess, sort of on the boundary between the celestial realms and the far realm. You get no sense of malice from this person, although they are definitely something fundamentally different from you. As far as what she's saying, seems to be being completely honest with you.
Okay.
And I think she's going to notice you giving her this very intent look, and she's going to say, I understand this all seems very strange. Where I come from, things have different value, so it makes sense to have commerce with the prime material realm because I can bring back things of value to my realm. And some of the things from my realm are of great value here. For example, and from one of the shelves, she's going to pick up a ring, and she will explain to you that what this is a ring of healing. It has 10 charges. A charge can be activated once per round as a free action, and it restores 1d10 of health.
Wow.
And it recharges, it's a full recharge every day.
Mm-hmm. Grommish will say, "Lil mama, you could use ring."
That is true. That would be a really nice ring, especially with the possible upcoming battle.
So when you say that, she's going to move over toward you, And she's going to say, yes, this ring would look lovely on you. And all I would need from you for this is your redheadedness.
Sorry, can I have Ethel interject here? If not, Jade, that's completely fine.
I'm actually gonna pass. I quite like my redheadedness. It adds to my uniqueness, like my eyes.
Yes,
Thank you, though.
you are a very astute young businesswoman. Your redheadedness is very special to you. I do not grudge you a bit for not wanting to make that particular bargain. And Athel, if you're wanting to say something, you can.
Yeah, Athel's eyes are gonna light up because Circle of the Dreams Druid focuses primarily upon the Fae, and even channels the power of the Seelie Court at this level. And so Athel's gonna go, ah, you are from the Feywild, aren't you, my friend?
No, but the things I value have a certain quality that is similar to what you're talking about. I understand how you could make that connection. I'm more from the borders of the far realm.
Oh, that's way more terrifying. Never mind.
Gromma's just gonna kind of lean his head over and he's like, what can I give you?
She's going to look at Gromish for a moment and consider the question. And she's going to say, from you, I would say what I would value is your mercy.
Oh. Huh.
Buddy, that's pretty important to you. I think you should keep.
What? What would you give for my mercy?
So she's going to hold up the ring. She's going to say, we're negotiating for the ring.
Oh. No, sorry. I like
Okay.
friends. Yeah.
Entirely reasonable. And she'll next turn to Renegar, and she's going to regard you for some time. And she is going to say, from you, I would ask for your guilt.
Ooh. Those gears were really turning.
I know, right? You can see the smoke.
Totally like the freaking face stealer from Avatar. Just saying.
Guilt or which guilt?
So she's staring really intently at you. And at this point, you're going to realize that this is an alien presence that is looking into your mind. You can let this happen or you can resist it. It's not doing anything harmful. It's just essentially reading your mind.
I'm gonna let it happen, yeah.
So she's going to say, you were forced to kill someone you cared about, and it's left a mark of guilt and anger on you. That is unusual, and that is valuable where I'm from. So I will trade you your guilt for that, for the ring.
No. Guilt. And at that point, I'm reaching up to the bones on my left arm. Guilt earned.
Entirely fair.
Aw. Oh, that
And
kind
at
of
that
hurt my heart.
At that point, she's going to turn and look at Athel and just kind of give you this look of, do you want to know?
I'm curious. What would the ring cost for me?
So she's going to, her expression is going to turn really quizzical as she's looking at you. And finally, she's going to say, from you, I would take your rather bizarre affinity for bread.
The true question of Athel's integrity here.
Damn.
Oh boy.
Going straight for the heart.
I'll take the ring for that.
Okay.
What?
I'll trade away his bread love.
Just
All right. So, Athel, as you take the ring, your ever-present hunger for bread is no longer there. But you're going to realize that where this came from was that the elf who raised you wasn't a particularly affectionate person. And one of the few sort of things about this person that came across as loving was that every morning you would wake up to the smell of baking bread.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
And every time you have it, you're reminded of that. So you've traded that away.
Oh, my heart.
Oh
Ouch.
no.
Ouch.
Okay.
So sorry, what does this ring do again? Just so I can write it down real quick.
It has 10 charges. You can activate it as a free action. And you regain, or the wearer regains 1d10 of health every time they activate it.
Okay.
And it recharges at dawn. And you do have the ability to give it to somebody else if you want to. So if you wanted Gramish or Renegade to have healing capacity on them, you could do that.
I think I've given up something way too valuable to give this to anyone else. Thank you very much.
Entirely
Oh,
reasonable.
childhood memories.
Well, you still
Not gonna
have
lie,
the
he's
memory.
in melee enough where that's actually the perfect person to have that ring.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You still have the memory. You just don't have the enjoyment of bread that you get because of that memory. And so after that transaction, she's going to point out several other objects that she has for sale in the shop. Some of them are a lot more useful than others. So, for example, there's a bag of holding rocks. It can hold as many rocks as you want and absolutely nothing else. There's also a tankard of poison nullification, which you pour a poison liquid into the tankard, and for as long as it's in the tankard, the poison is inactive. For as long as it's in the tankard.
Gotta go swimming in the tank.
Yeah.
And finally, she is going to come up with something that is a little more useful, which is a bow that when the string is pulled back, an arrow just appears in this bow. And attacks with this bow are +1 to attack and damage and magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance.
Jane, your
See,
bow.
that's playing mean.
Oh, that's playing good.
That
I know it's probably not going to work at all, but I'm going to pull that longsword that I pulled off of the the battlefield, and the horn that I broke off of that tiefling that was on my list, and I'm going to hold both of them out to her in trade.
She barely notices the sword, but she's going to take the horn out of your hand and she's going to smell it. She's going to lick it. She's going to spend a significant amount of time looking at it and then looking at you. And after some consideration, she's kind of nodding her head back and forth, and she's going to say, "The horn is special to you. Are you sure?"
Yes.
She's going to hand you the bow.
Oh.
Oh, Redgar. Oh.
My big giant paw is just handing this over to her.
Oh, my heart.
Oh, buddy. And Jane's
Oh.
gonna grab it and give you a hug. It's like, you didn't have to do that.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, definitely did.
You are such the sweetest Null ever. The biggest heart.
Is it
So she's actually,
+1 longbow or +1 shortbow?
well, for Jane to be able to use it, it has to be a short bow.
Okay.
So she is going to take the sword and she's going to look at it. And she's going to look at Athel. And there's going to be a long moment of consideration in her eyes as she's going, like kind of looking back and forth at it and looking back and forth at you. And she's going to say, "You know what? You've caught me on a sentimental day. I've lived in the city for a long time and I'm going to miss it. And I'm not in a mood to take a memory of something someone loves." And she's going to just kind of tap Athel on the forehead. And you now have restored your affinity for bread as well as your memory of why, which you had never really thought about. And she's going to look at all four of you and she's going to say, like, and if you tell anybody that I did that, and she's going to hold up the sword, like, with a real clear implication behind it.
Is the sword magical?
Yeah, it's the +1 magical longsword that Renegar pulled off the field.
Oh, right. Okay.
Gramish will nod to her and go, "Don't worry. I don't know what you did."
Young man, knowing things is overrated. I suggest you don't put too much effort into it.
Oh.
Yeah. Fur buddy too. He's just going to go back to petting the dog. He's really enjoying this.
So she's going to say, "Well, I'm going to need to bid you farewell, unless you would like to travel with me back to the far realm where I'm from, which I'm reasonably confident you would not."
Do you take Fur Buddy 2 with you?
I was going to. I didn't want to leave the dog here alone.
Okay. Want to make sure he was safe. Yeah. Would not be safe with us, no.
He's really sweet, though.
He is. I had never met the dog before the day the city fell, and I don't really know much about how to take care of dogs, but nor do I exactly know what life in the far realm is going to do, but we're going to find out.
If you're an entity of the far realm, couldn't you have saved this city? Like, even no offense, but even the weakest creatures of the far realms are kind of absurd compared to even the gods of, like, our realm, from my understanding. The one time I tried to use far realm magic, my good old druid friend locked me away for quite some time because that was a bit of a forbidden subject. But
So, Athel, when you say this, you're going to find yourself suddenly cast into a dark, profoundly cold, and gloomy place, and this booming voice around you, which you can only distantly recognize as vaguely similar to that of the old woman, is going to say, "Then maybe you should consider all that before you insult me."
Mean to insult you. Didn't mean to insult you.
So the rest of the party has no idea this happens. They just suddenly see Athel like vaguely whimpering. I didn't mean to insult you. And once again, she's going to kind of stare at the ceiling in this just thoughtful, grandmotherly way and go, "But I suppose it's a fair question. There are greater powers at work than are obvious to you all. And for me to meddle in that is for me to drag my realm into the conflicts of yours, which would be bad for us and worse for you."
Dragon.
Fair.
Magic lady. Do you know the phrase dragon speaks? Dragon. It's not
Dragon
like the rest
stirs,
party.
buddy.
Stirs. Yes. Dragon stirs. Yes.
I've heard of it.
What do you want for that information?
I have a daffodil that dances to music that plays nearby.
For that, I could give you a little bit of information. She's going to reach out her hand.
I will hand her the potted daffodil that dances to music nearby.
Aww.
All right. She's going to set it on the floor, and the dog is immediately going to start chewing on it, and she's going to pay no mind as she starts to talk. And she's going to say, it's the kind of thing where she doesn't actually care about the daffodil. It was entirely the principle of the thing.
Aww.
But when she sees that the party is distressed by it, she'll kind of shoo the dog away from the thing. And she's going to consider the question for a moment, and she's going to say, the old language was vague. So, for example, the word for water was the same as the word for ocean. The word for firebringer was the same as the word for dragon. So when they say the dragon stirs, it's not actually a dragon that's stirring. And stirring doesn't necessarily mean waking up from being asleep. It can mean breaking out of a confinement. It can mean moving after a long period of being still. Or it can be being active after a long period of having been quiet and unperceived. And she's going to consider the question. She's going to consider it a little more, and she's going to say, I think you might have less information now than what you started with, but if the information that you started with was misleading you in some way, that might be for the best.
Big guy moves. We need to find big guy who moves. Thank you. Okay. Bye for body 2. Pat.
Fare thee well.
Be safe.
Fare thee well, and don't trust the elf you're traveling with. He's a smuggler, and he makes some really interesting deals.
Do you know
Can I insight
Alf?
check that?
All right, so Grommish is asking, do you know the elf?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jane, go ahead and make your insight check.
That's a 12. She's not doing well today.
You have no reason to distrust what she's saying. Grommish, when you ask, do you know the elf, she's going to say, oh, I know Corbrialis. Sometimes in my line of work, there is the call to get less savory things. And sometimes there are deals that only the most desperate people make. And that one is always a good source for the worst kind of deals.
We met magic elf friend. Thank you.
All right. So she will see the 4 of you out, and very warmly, very almost in a grandmotherly tone. And as soon as you all are outside, the building that this shop was in is just going to completely collapse in on itself. And there's going to be just an otherworldly stench of sewage that is there for a moment and then gone. And you're going to have just a glimpse into this bizarre realm of tentacled aberrations fighting demons and like mind-bending realities of it's like there's like one reality where it's a civilization of sentient cockroaches that deals with infestations of tiny humanoids that get into their cabinets and stuff. That's going to be your last glimpse of your interaction with this person before you're back in the city.
Robert's just gonna look at that and go, big demon things. Add something.
And we
I
all
like the big
roll
demon.
Madness chart.
Hmm?
I'll roll on the madness table.
We should go to Magic Elf Friend. We should tell him we found other Magic Elf Friend. He might like
It's
knowing
a really
friends.
bad idea.
Oh,
You don't
But he-
tell the person who makes it his business to be very private that we know a lot about his business. That's how you get stabbed, my friend.
oh. I thought he would like to know we met his friend.
Well, he would, but then he'd stab us.
Oh.
Oh,
Is stabbing
Maybe.
a friend thing? Do you stab friends?
I mean, I almost stabbed you when you got that tattoo.
So if he stabs me, he pulls out his axe, swing. In like
You
full
shouldn't
dead
stab
serious
friends.
Friendly.
Oh. So if he stabs me, am I not his friend?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. And he's
Is there
just
any-
don't start walking.
Is there anything anybody wants to do before you leave this city?
If no one is opposed, I would still very much like to destroy the Pyramid of Bones as a symbolic gesture.
Jane is walking toward the boat, not looking back.
I'll stay with Athel while he destroys the bones.
Are you going to do it in town or outside of town?
Well, I have to be within 120 feet to cast a spell.
Ah, okay. So Gromit should
Um,
probably stand kind of next to you while you do so.
Athel's just going to very dramatically clap his hands together at maximum volume, and as he does that, he's going to cast Call Lightning on the bones.
Nice.
All right, so you do that, and
The
whatever
bone better not fly and stab me.
whatever effect you were expecting, you get a significantly more dramatic effect than that. And
Oh god.
when the lightning hits this bone pile, I mean, this bone pile is like 50 feet high. When the lightning hits it, it truly is an effect of just bones exploding out in every direction. There was some sort of latent magical energy that was still in the thing. And you have a strong sense that whatever latent magical energy it was, you're really, really glad that you stopped it doing whatever it was doing, because it's hard to tell at a glance what it was, but it wasn't anything positive. There's no positive magical effect that comes from massacring an entire town, rendering their bones bare, and then building a pyramid out of it. So you did something good with this. You're just not exactly sure what.
There's no like small red stone bouncing away from the pile of dead bodies.
Tragically, no.
Yay! Fireworks. Big boom. He's just gonna kind of like look at Athel and be like, "Do you want to ride on shoulder? I walk
Sure.
fast." Cool.
Also,
Still I'll pick
Athel
you
is
up.
going to. Also, Athel is going to pocket that femur that he's been carrying the entire time.
My snack. It's just start walking up, and probably going to catch up to Jane, pick her up too, put her on his other shoulder, and just keep walking.
All right. So if you all aren't doing anything else, you make your way back to the boat. Nothing opposes you or stops you. There seems to truly be no one left on this island, and the raiders seem to have truly left to go do whatever it was they were going to do next. When you make it back to the boat, Corbrialis and his crew are there. He has a really concerned look on his face. And but when he sees you, he just sort of cheerfully waves and beckons you over. What are you all going to say when you see him, if anything?
Grummish will probably say, "We found a tower of bones," and then he blew it up.
Well, what happened was we believe that the mercenaries came through, killed everyone in sight, and all of their bones are now, was a pyramid in the center of town. No one was safe. And everyone's gone. We were too late, it seems.
Town is barren.
They destroyed the town, everyone in the town?
No destroying town, just every person. Town fine. Everyone dead. Oh.
And when they did this, they made a pyramid, you say, in the middle of town?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
They
then,
also rent all the flesh and fat from their bones, and it mixed with the soil. It was not pleasant to smell, even as a wolf.
Magic
Alright.
Friend blew it up. Big boom.
So when he tells you that, Corbrialis is going to look at you and he's going to ask, so why did you blow it up?
There was something off about it, and it was... There should not be monuments to death and destruction. So I removed the monument to death and destruction.
Athel, what's your passive insight?
Passive insight? I don't have that off the...
10 plus your insight bonus.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. 14.
Same.
14. On a 14, you're going to notice a slightly distressed look on Corbrialis' face for just a moment as you're telling him that you blew up the pyramid.
So I'm still on one of the barbarian's shoulders, right?
Yeah, you're on mine.
Cool. So I'm gonna stand on the shoulder and lead over Corbrialis from this position. So, what do you know? Attempting to intimidate this guy by proxy of my barbarian friend there.
Go ahead and make an intimidation check.
You're 9 foot now.
That's a natural 20.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Natural
Grummish
20,
is
okay.
good for intimidation, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm chalking that up entirely to Grommish and not actually Athel.
So Corbrialis is going to hold up his hands. Okay, settle down. I might have had some inkling that this invasion was coming before it happened.
Jane is going to put her hand on her rapier as he's talking.
Grummish puts his hand on his axe.
I guess Renegar's weapons are his hands, so Renegar puts his hand on his hand. Sorry.
I'm just watching him intently right now.
All right. So he's going to say, okay, look, I didn't mean for all of this to happen. I just had heard that the people of the West were very unhappy with the way they had been treated by the wealthier and more powerful nations in the East, and that they were going to be doing some raiding as they made their way to the battlefield. And it probably has something to do with the worm stirs or whatever it is that everybody keeps saying. I didn't, but there's a far cry between a random saying that people keep saying that doesn't seem to mean anything, and maybe some light raiding and pillaging, and what you're describing in that city.
Grommush immediately just lets go of his axe and moves his hand down, just completely passive again.
Well, unfortunately, at this, Ethel is just gonna go. Unfortunately, it's not a random saying. Your friend from the Far Realm told us that much, and unfortunately, I do believe that's worth mentioning.
Sorry,
Will
the Far
you
Realm?
stab us?
You're the friend who demands emotions for trade.
Oh, her. Yeah.
Yes. She provided insight on that phrase.
Will he stab you now? Or is he still friend?
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh. Will you stab him?
I don't know. We'll see.
So Kerberal is going to flick both of his wrists, and a dagger will appear in each hand, and then he's just going to drop them. And he's going to say, "I'm not stabbing anybody."
See, he's still friend.
And then to Athel, he is going to say, "So what did she tell you about that saying? I never asked her about it."
She said that it is not literal. It is not a literal dragon that is waking up, nor is it even something that is waking up. It is perhaps something that has been imprisoned or has been motionless for a very long time, and that it is not that the word dragon means more bringer of fire than anything else.
Yes, well, that certainly makes sense.
We traded a dandelion for it, so she was quite vague, unfortunately.
She made the
It was a dancing dandelion.
Yeah, she made the weirdest bargain. She one time traded me. Actually, she traded me my ship for the love of my father, which was a really odd bargain because I don't love my father, but that's a whole other conversation for another day.
She said you make desperate choices.
Jade's gonna bat Thomas's head.
Ow, she did.
Can we go
Buddy,
to
some things are left unsaid. Should be left unsaid.
We're gonna be left in front of a fucking dead city.
So, as wonderful as this conversation has been, perhaps we should make our way to Goblin Watch before something else finds this cove?
Yeah, it would have been nice to know that there was possibly already an ending to this town, so we would have already been at Goblin Watch. Just saying.
He said light pillaging. Town may be here. Well, town was here. People may be here. People were not here, but people may be. May have. Yeah. See the gears in Gromish's head's turning as he's trying to find the words.
Buddy, you're a lot nicer than me.
Yeah.
So Corborealis is going to pick up his daggers and tuck them back into his sleeves, and he's going to say, "Well, we'll get going. There's nothing here. There was a cave here where smugglers used to ply their trade. That's how I knew about this cove, and even it's been emptied out. Whoever did this was thorough."
Don't worry, buddy. Ocean won't attack you with me on ship.
Fair enough. So he's going to go ahead and start getting the ship underway. And as you all set out, is there anything in particular any of you are doing?
Gromish is probably just watching the ocean ahead of us.
All right.
Yeah, same.
Jane is going to also keep an eye out and keep a Borealis in her peripherals based on what they've heard about him.
You can go ahead and make, I suppose that would be an insight check if you would like to.
Natural 20, thank you. So lovely.
The power of dice is with us, just not in combat.
Specifically against him.
Yeah.
So what you notice about him is that he's more magical than he lets on. Like for example, the fact that he still has the owl that you accidentally shot the first time you met him is a pretty
Look.
clear sign of. Well, you did. It's a clear sign that the owl is a magical creature that he summons and not just a normal bird that he's tamed. But just as you watch the way he moves and everything, he's just, even for an elf, he's graceful and strong and has a certainty in the way that he conducts himself that is just a little more than natural. And I guess what I'll also say is that you sense absolutely no hostility toward any of you from him or to any of his crew, but you don't sense anything else either.
Interesting.
And Athel, is there anything you'll be doing?
Yeah, Athel is gonna take out that femur that he has from the mainland. And he is going to check it for any of that weird magical signature, but he's also going to begin sort of inscribing it with druidic sort of symbols for good luck and stuff.
All right, so since you have some time to make this check, I'm going to go ahead and say make a check on it with advantage.
Okay.
Arcana check, I should be specific.
Alright, so that's a nat 1 and a 19. I'm going to go with the 19.
Okay. So on a 19, you're going to realize something really, really weird, which is that magic, that evil magic that made that pyramid of bone, or that pyramid of bone was made to support, it's celestial.
That's concerning.
Oh. Okay, then. Isn't that the same creature type as the thing we were fighting in the forest?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh no.
Did we do that?
Oh no.
Athel just slowly grinding away at this bone just goes, oh shit.
Yes, absolutely.
Are we the baddies?
Oh look, we're just casually bringing chaos as we walk, It's fine. It's not like we also burnt down a town.
Hey. What's this we business?
We just murdered
Or
part of the town.
casually visiting Jane's town and it happens to be attacked. It's fine.
Oh, I love it.
All right, so I'm sorry, what did you say the inscription you're making on this thing is?
Druidic symbols for life, longevity, luck, that sort of thing. So just trying to offset the bad vibes that this thing gives off.
All right, so you're able to do that. Now,
Live, laugh, love.
Yes.
I know this hasn't been the longest session, but this does seem like a very good place to leave our campaign for tonight, as you all are making your way with all haste to Goblin Watch. And Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it will be 2 weeks from tonight the next time we meet.
Yes. So
Right.
next week,
Yes.
Wednesday, unfortunately, won't be coming back because I believe Ellie has a work thing to do, as annoying
yep.
as that is for work, but that's okay. And so tomorrow
We'll
we're
be
going to be
meeting again on
doing
7th.
me, Ellie, and two of our other friends, my sister and Rogue, are going to be playing some Borderlands 1. We're going to be continuing that. So if you guys are interested in our content, feel free to hit that follow button so you guys can see when we go live tomorrow at 7 p.m. PST, or check out our website, which is inside of the links inside the chat. And if you guys want to see some more DM content and just generally have some tips and advice, go check out Benny at AutistDM on TikTok. And we'll see all of you fine folks on the next episode. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night.